From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Thierry visits with Pioneer Field Agronomist Michael Fosdick about this year's disease pressure compared to last year's. I have the latest export sales report with Greg McBride of Allendale, and Dustin wraps up his conversation with Ag and Business Legal Strategies Associate Attorney Austin Peiffer. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Dustin, I'm continuing to think about it. This time next week, we will be at the Iowa State Fair, and we will be all set up after day number one of the fair, and we will be heading into the weekend. And of course, as we are getting closer to the fair, we're trying to get everything lined up here behind the scenes, all of the events that we're looking forward to attending, including the Governor's Charity Steer Show, the Bacon Buddy Show. Of course, we'll be also covering those large animal shows like the Super Bowl, the Big Boar, trying to find out who the winners will be. Those are always fun every year. I know we look forward to that. Is there anything that you're looking forward to in particular this year, Dustin?
Well, I am always looking forward to some of those things like Bacon Buddies. I always love the Charity Steer Show. That's one of my favorite things that we cover as well. But I think it's the whole ambiance of the whole place, that is always the best part, talking to the people, seeing the kids doing their thing, watching the animals, seeing people who are, not as in tune with agriculture, around the state that are coming in and are learning things about agriculture. Though I am looking forward to being at the pork producers tent again, flipping some of those pork chops and pork burgers again. I'll be doing that on Tuesday, the 18th. So looking forward to that. And that's always a fun time to get to talk with some of those folks and be a part of the grilling, because I always love grilling, and it gives me a little bit of a break to do that here on those days.
Another thing I'm actually looking forward to that's, not anything official or a show or anything is just talking with all the farmers that stop by our setup at the fair. We are right outside the cattle barn, and we have a lot of farmers that stop by and they, say hi, and then we get a chance to talk to them about how their growing season is going. And I remember last year, it was very evident that, Southern rust was so widespread across the state of Iowa because almost everyone that stopped by wanted to talk about that. So it's just a nice way to see what's happening around the state. And it is kind of funny. This is right as some of these yield projections are coming out from the various services. And that's kind of our own little surveys. We get a chance to talk with farmers from all four corners of the state and find out exactly what's happening in the fields. Kind of gives you a good picture of how the growing season's going.
Yeah, that it does. And that's, like I said, part of the whole idea of talking to these folks is learning what's going on, because, you can hear some observations, but because, you might be surveying somebody with one situation, but maybe just a few miles down the road, somebody's got something completely different. And we know how weather can just go around in some places and completely miss one area and hit another. And the difference is only a few miles. That's why it's kind of interesting to get different perspectives, because when you actually start to hear about things, it seems like it starts to balance out in a few of those regions of the state. But we do know the western part of the state has been dry, and that's nothing to shake a stick at. But we know there have been some areas out there that have been getting moisture, maybe some more than others. But again, that's exactly it. You get to hear from those farmers. You get to hear what's going on directly. Southern rust not being the major issue this year, but there are other diseases. There are other pests out there. The weather has been interesting because of this super El Nino, they're calling it, or Godzilla El Nino, or whatever they're calling it. It seems like it's got a new nickname every year, or every week. But, it's been another year. We know this. Mother Nature throws something at us different every year. No year, very rarely, should I say, that we have one year that was the same as the one before it. And so there's always something new to deal with. There's always something that we got to go back and look at our notes or our data and our records and see, how did we handle it the last time this happened? And that's why it's always been good to keep those kind of records, so you have that kind of experience. Well, let's go ahead and jump into those grain markets. Matt Bennett of agmarket.net joining Mark right now.
Joined today by Matt Bennett of agmarket.net for the opening market discussion. Matt, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
The markets got some green on the screen here. Had a little bit of buying overnight, but then here this morning, we had some nice export sales announcements. Corn's up 4, beans up 3 to 4, wheat's actually up 8 to 10. And so a nice little rebound, especially over there on the wheat side of things, where took a little bit on the chin there yesterday. But, it's not been the greatest week, but it's certainly been a better week than last week. When we lost all three, lost a lot of ground. This week, it was just kind of more of a consolidation type feel.
And Matt, as we look at the forecast and we look at those yield projections we've been getting from some of the private groups, it does seem like some of those numbers have been a little bit higher than the USDA's expectations for that next WASDE report.
Yeah, and so, I do believe that the average trade guess is a shade under 183, but some of the estimates have certainly been above that. And so we've seen anything up to a 184.8 from StoneX, all the way down to like a 180 type yield. So a little bit of everything. As always, you've got so many different situations. I've actually been all over the country here this week speaking, and, we've seen talk to growers in Western Kansas that, have said their crops toast in Eastern Kansas could be best ever, whereas, I was in Nebraska yesterday and some of the growers told me that their irrigators could not keep up with the heat that they've had. And so their crop has been hurt. It's going to be good, not great. I mean, I've heard a lot of that this year, good, not great. So I'm assuming this crop's going to be a good one. I just don't know that we're even going to come close to a year ago. So, our official estimate for the report is 182.7, just to give you an idea. And we kind of feel like this bean yield may actually come in a little bit above that 53 from USDA. So we're at 53.2 there.
And Matt, even in your home state of Illinois, there's been, we think of that as one of the obviously biggest producing states, but there's been spots there where it's haves and have-nots, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the problem in Illinois has as much to do with too much rainfall in the month of June as anything. And so, when you get too much rainfall in June and then the water shuts off in July, that's not really a good recipe for growing a big corn crop. So no doubt that there's some areas in Illinois, especially where drainage isn't the best or, where folks lost some nitrogen. There's going to be, I think, some disappointed growers. Whereas I do think there will also be some areas where, they could be pushing a record crop. So you're going to have just a little bit of everything. But bottom line in Illinois is that it's not going to be near as good as what we've seen in the past.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
This is the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it is time for Dustin to wrap up his conversation with Austin Peiffer here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
So then, Austin, what kind of things do farmers need to think about? Obviously, we know that there are people that have to look at bankruptcies. There are people that have to look at different legal aspects. And I mean, the ultimate goal, obviously, you want to try to save your farm as much as you possibly can. But obviously, you get between a rock and a hard place, it becomes a tight situation. I mean, what kind of things can folks be thinking about when talking about legal protections in these situations? Because, like you said, it can spiral out of control really fast.
If you think times are tight, you need to look at this analysis. Yeah, I know that things are busy in the field. Yes, I know you've probably got a spray right now, and you've got 1,000 other things going on, but this is your business. This is how your business will survive. And if you ignore it, it's not going to get any better by magic. You got to look at it, analyze it, and act on it. So if things look tight, you got to look at your numbers. If you don't think things are tight, you still need to look at your numbers, because if you're just going off your gut, you're probably not getting an accurate estimate. Maybe you're estimating pessimistically and things are actually in great shape. But farmers seem to be eternal optimists. And I've seen a lot more farmers who have overestimated how they're doing and thought things were going a lot better than they were, than I've seen the opposite. So look at the numbers. They say figures don't lie, but liars figure. Well, look at the numbers, look at your figures. They won't lie to you, and then see what's coming. That's really the big insight. If you can look ahead and project what's coming, then you can be proactive instead of waiting until the bank says in January or February, I'm not renewing your line of credit, or the bank files the foreclosure, or your equipment lender files a replevin and says, I want to take all of your equipment because you haven't paid me. So I can help with all the legal stuff. I can defend replevin, I can defend foreclosures, I can negotiate restructurings or refinancings, I can help you file bankruptcy. But until you know the numbers and can look ahead and figure out what needs to be done, or at least bring me the numbers so I can help you look ahead and figure out what needs to be done, I can't help you. I can't proactively go out there and say, show me your books and I'll tell you what you need to do. You have to make the first step. You have to figure out, I see there's a problem, and the way you see there's a problem before it's staring you right in the face is by looking at your numbers.
All right, awesome. We give us a lot of things to think about, and obviously it's a service that is, definitely hybrid. Like you said, the legal representation, the legal help, but also then the help getting the business back into a more positive situation, or working to see what you can work with. If folks want to learn more about the services you guys offer, what's the best way for them to get that conversation started?
You can visit our website, ablsonline.com, or you can give us a call at 319-363-1641. We'd be happy to speak with you.
All right, Austin Peiffer's been our guest here today. Austin, thanks so much for that insight, and we appreciate you taking the time to visit with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Burwell Livestock Market, Burwell, Nebraska. Friday, August 7th will be our annual Customer Appreciation Barbecue Auction. We start at 11 a.m. on a regular auction, expecting 3,000 head of quality Sandhills cattle. We'll sell in fall calves, fall bred cows, and feeders. That's at the Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, Friday, August 7th, annual Customer Appreciation Barbecue Auction. You can view our complete listings at burwelllivestock.com or give us a call here at the auction market, 308-346-4257.
Time to run down those cash bids for you here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. Seeing a lot of volatility in the corn bids here today. Most of them going lower, but some raising theirs. So let's run down the prices. ADM Burlington, 28 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans, 32 cents under at $11.48. Cargill Eddyville, 15 cents under on corn, cash bid, $4.26. New Co-op Algona, 27 cents under on corn, $4.14. Soybeans, 25 cents under, cash bid, $11.55. Ag State Sheldon, 19 cents under on corn, $4.22. Soybeans, 35 cents under at $11.45. Ag State Elta, 26 cents under on corn, $4.15. Soybeans, 30 cents under. They're at $11.50 for the cash bid. At Cargill Cedar Rapids are 9 cents under on corn, cash price $4.32. Soybeans a nickel over at $11.85. Five Star Co-op Nashua, 30 cents under on corn, $4.11. Soybeans, 40 cents under. They're at $11.40. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 20 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.21. ADM Des Moines, a nickel over on soybeans, their cash price $11.85. New Co-op Red Oak, 20 cents under on corn, $4.21. Soybeans, 15 cents under at $11.65. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 42 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.99. Soybeans, 50 cents under, they're at $11.30. At New Co-op Sheraton, they are 24 cents under on corn at $4.17. Soybeans, 20 cents under, cash bid $11.60. Walk-On Feed Ranch, they are 48 cents under on corn, $3.93. Soybeans, 67 cents under, they're at $11.13. Innovative Ag Services Farley, 42 cents under on corn, $3.99. Soybeans, 69 cents under at $11.11 for the cash bid. New Co-op Glidden, 27 cents under on corn, cash price $4.14. Soybeans, 25 cents under, $11.55. And Cargill Muscatine, 30 cents under on corn, $4.11. Soybeans, 30 cents under at $11.50. Cash, corn, and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. With that, check your basis report on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight.
A special evening with the icon.
On a downtown train.
A night of hit. After hit. After hit. With special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th. Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart. Live.
This is Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and Thierry and I visited the Corteva Agriscience Field Day recently. Thierry had the chance to speak with Michael Fosdick, a pioneer field agronomist, about the lower levels of disease pressure in Iowa fields this year compared to last year.
Thierry Gede here for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. We are down here in Johnson, Iowa for the Corteva Pioneer Field Day. Michael Fosdick. And Michael was presenting earlier today talking about the diseases and everything here. Mike, can you kind of come back on what you talk about here and then pick up on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of customers and growers that we work with, after 2025, where we had significant disease pressure, have a lot of this top of mind and are trying to make decisions. So one of the things that we try to do for those customers is make sure that we're not only out in the field looking at things, but provide them tools like different disease modeling tools and different situations like that to help us anticipate when disease risk presents itself, as well as maybe when that right timing is. And so, certainly Southern Rust hit a lot of headlines last year. That was a disease that in Iowa we don't experience every year as early as we saw it. So that one's certainly been a disease that a lot of farmers have had top of mind and making sure that they don't miss that opportunity to spray like they might have last year in certain scenarios because of how aggressive it got to be. But the key thing is this year, the disease progression has been significantly slower than 2025, when it comes to tar spot or Southern Rust. Even though it's been identified, it's been fairly isolated so far in 2026 thus far.
Thank you, Mike. So as you know, every planting season is different from one another. And like you said, some diseases were like more challenging last season, and now you're seeing a lot of difference. So what changed? Why the switch?
Yeah, every year is different. Last year we a perfect storm was set up to blow Southern Rust in. It is a wind-blown disease. It does not overwinter in Iowa, and so based on some of the southerly winds and different tropical storms and that sort of thing, that really moved that disease up into the Midwest last year. Versus we really haven't seen that be as aggressive as last year. And once again, it where we have seen isolated cases of it, it's been very isolated, single plants in fields, very, very different scenario than when we saw it in early July last year from a Southern Rust perspective. And so, when you think about moisture, temperature, all those things go into, when disease is or isn't going to present itself. And it's just been a different season. Last year, we had a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, especially in mid to late July. And certainly a lot of moisture in late July that really helped that disease spread rapidly last year versus as much this year. So
yeah, totally. So you mentioned Southern Rust a lot, and even during your presentation, something that keep coming back. Is it like the disease that farmer has to be aware of right now? Is it the big thing, that wakes you up at night as a researcher, or is it something else?
Yeah, it's certainly fresh on customers' minds.
Okay.
Last year, once again, that was a very aggressive disease. I don't think a farmer needs to lose sleep over it because there are a lot of scenarios, at least in Iowa, that have to really come to fruition in a very appropriate manner to make that disease be a year-to-year scenario. And it's not, since it doesn't overwinter in Iowa, it isn't quite like tar spot, for example, where tar spot, once you get it in your canopy and it gets on the residue, it's going to live there and it's going to stay there, and it can and provide a habitat for it in the future. So therefore, once you get tar spot, sometimes you can get tar spot again, and it's going to overwinter. Versus Southern Rust isn't necessarily the case there. So that's the positive about Southern Rust is we do need to keep an eye on it, but I don't want to lose sleep over it year in, year out, because a lot of things have to work out just right to make that work in just like it did in 25.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time to talk today.
Thank you.
And again, it's Thierry Gede for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. And thank you.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Well, Dustin, yesterday, of course, we know that the Senate Ag Committee had its Farm Bill markup, but unfortunately, the Senate Agriculture Committee failed to advance its Farm Bill after Democrats rejected the Republican proposal in a 10-11 vote. That leaves the legislation without a path forward, at least a clear path anyway. Committee Chairman John Bozeman recessed the markup after negotiations broke down over changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So, Dustin, we knew obviously that this could be the case. We had fingers crossed that we would finally get across the finish line, but unfortunately not the case yesterday.
No, exactly it. And we're also looking at the fact that we aren't going to see any Prop 12 fixes. The year-round E15 dies with that as well, unless they can revive that. But you also have to remember now, going out after today, there will be a August recess for 5 weeks. They won't come back till after Labor Day. They will only be back for about 3 weeks trying to get a budget bill done, and then they're going to be gone again in October for campaigns, about a third of the Senate, and of course all of the House of Representatives. So that means pretty well business is almost done till after the election, except for a 3-week period. And so don't hold your breath waiting on anything to get done, but it's anything is possible. But again, I would say our chances have gone to really slim after that. And so, yeah, it's going to be looks like another kick the can down the road year again. And unless they can get something done in the lame duck session, but they haven't seemed to have been able to get anything done at any point in time on this farm bill.
No, and the most frustrating thing from my, personal perspective on this whole thing is that when there's time to work on the farm bill, they, find every excuse in the book to not work on it. And then when it gets to time where something can actually happen, well, then they say, well, the elections are coming up, because they have kept kicking this can down the road, like you mentioned, and then they use that as an excuse. It's almost like there's always a reason why they can't get this across the finish line, and that's coming from both sides just being unable to agree on a bill that has historically always been bipartisan.
Yeah, and eventually I think it's going to come back to bite them, where we could get to the polls and kick them down the road. Could be one of those situations. We may see that happening here pretty soon. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined at midday by Eric Ralph of Comstock for the Midday Market discussion. Eric, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Well, we're actually seeing positivity across the board, mainly being driven by wheat, as I think everybody's a little hesitant to be short going into the weekend with uncertainty in the Black Sea. And that's lending strength to the row crop markets. Corn trading a few cents higher, beans up anywhere from 2 to 3. No big moves in the row crops, but at least we are seeing some green on the screen going into the weekend. And then it's going to come down to weather as we go through the weekend and how traders respond on Sunday night as a result.
Eric, has anything changed with the wheat situation? Is this just the continuation of the concerns with the Russia-Ukraine war?
Yeah, and I think you're going to continue to see the volatility like what we've seen of late, where you've got these double-digit days in either direction and some corrective trade along the way. But all in all, you look at the most heavily traded and probably most watched contract is going to be the December Chicago contract, trading 11 3/4 higher here at midday, 662 1/4 last trade, just taking back yesterday's losses. Testing the 100-day moving average from a technical standpoint was significant. We have not closed below that, so reason for some positivity along with a little profit taking to end the week. And then who knows what happens as we come out of the weekend.
And speaking of that livestock side of the markets, what do the screens look like here at midday? I know we had some positive price movement in the feeders to begin the day.
We did, and actually that was when we posted our highs. Right now we're trading about $3.50 or $2.50 off of the high in the August feeder cattle, still up $1.50 there, but the deferred contracts anywhere from 50 cents higher to $1.50 lower. So seeing some weakness here as we go towards the close. Yesterday's sell-off seemed a little overdone, so we saw that bounce back early this morning. I'm a little surprised to see the weakness that we are right now in both live and feeder futures, because we are so far below index levels and weighted cash on the Fed side, because we're seeing a lot of 235 to 238 trade on a live basis while we have an August board running at 230. So I'd expect some reconciliation over the next couple of weeks there.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
You can find us on all social media outlets. You can go to the Comstock channel on YouTube. You can go to our website at comstock.com or just give us a call, 712-227-1110.
Eric Ralph Comstock, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
You too, Mark. Thank you.
No one knows your fields better than you, but it's hard to be everywhere at once. Sky Scout from Landis Cooperative helps you keep an eye on every acre throughout the growing season. Using aerial imagery and expert analysis, Sky Scout can help identify crop stress, stand concerns, nutrient issues, and other potential challenges before they become bigger problems. The result? More informed decisions and greater confidence in every pass across the field. Because the earlier you know, the more options you have. Talk with your Landis representative or call 515-817-2100 to learn more about Sky Scout today.
September corn up 4 cents at $4.43. September soybeans up 2 3/4 at $11.62 3/4. September soybean meal down $1.40 at $3.1020. September soybean oil up 50 cents at $68.24. Chicago wheat up 12 1/2 at $6.43 3/4. Minneapolis wheat is up 12 cents at $6.83. Kansas City hard red wheat up 18 cents at $7.17 3/4. September oats up a penny at $3.10 3/4. On the Merc, August live cattle down $1.03 at $230.20. August feeder cattle up $1.55 at $349.60. October lean hogs up 40 cents at $82.13. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, coming up now here on Iowa Ag Matters, it's time to find out what's going on and moving those livestock markets. Mixed day in the cattle today, and hogs are moving a little bit higher. Matt Bennett of agmarket.net rejoining that conversation now with Mark Magnuson.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Yeah, and so, yesterday, of course, livestock kind of took it on the chin a little bit. You come in here today and nothing super exciting, but you're up a little bit. Fats are up $1 to $1.50. Feeders down or up $2.50 to $3. Hogs aren't doing much in here, but whenever you look at this fat cattle market, you definitely have to feel a lot better about it, than what we felt there a couple weeks ago. So, fats are still trading as far as the front month, about $11 off that low. And so certainly nice to see. I mean, we came in here this week and kind of flirted with the 200-day moving average. We've been above it. We've been below it. But it looks like we got a fighting chance to maybe close the week above that 200-day. And I think if you do, that sets the tone, that we're in pretty decent shape to not worry about going back down to those lows right away. And who knows, maybe we can go up and test the moving averages above us. And, those would come in. The highest of them would be the 100-day up there at 239. So be another $6-7 higher. Certainly something that we could see. And I'm not so sure that I don't know that we get to 250, but I do think that you've got a shot at least moving that way again. Because right now it seems like we've digested the toughest of the news, which was, of course, border crossing opening.
Matt, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, it's just agmarket.net. If they go there on the web, they can find all the information we provide, contact info, and research, be able to get a hold of information to help them in their marketing.
Agmarket.net. He is Matt Bennett. Matt, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
Absolutely, bud. You too.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
It's time now for the latest export sales report. Here is Riley Smith with Greg McBride of Allendale on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
On the phone right now with Greg McBride of Allendale as we take a look at the weekly U.S. export sales report. And first off, Greg, what do we see on the corn side of that report?
We had corn on the old crop coming in at 116,000 tons. As we said, we've said for the last few weeks, we don't necessarily look at the sales at this time of the year. We're talking more about the shipments. But on the new crop side of things, just over 1 million tons. That was right in the middle of the estimated range. So overall, 1.15 million tons of corn sold. We'll take that as good continuation of sales. This has never been an issue for the corn, at least for the last couple of years here. Bean side of things, very low sales on the old crop, which is fine. 32,000 tons. On the new crop side of things, this is where things were a little bit on the more disappointing side. I won't say they were bad, but they were a little disappointing. 904,000 tons. The low end of the estimates was at 900,000 tons. So all total for the week, 936,000 tons. We were looking for the upside around 1.5 million tons. So coming up well short of that. We do know that China was part of the equation, like they have been for the last few weeks here. Just not buying a ton there. Over the total that they bought, we're still sitting around 7 million tons that they bought so far between them and unknown purchases. So overall, we're still doing pretty good on these sales. This is just one, like I said, not a bad week, but a little bit disappointing.
And what would we expect to see at this time of year for those sales? And I know it is a little bit of a unique case, like you mentioned, with China making those purchases. But in general, what do we expect to see right now?
We would be seeing over 1 million tons per week on the new crop side of things. This is the prime time for China, or at least it has been in the past. You go back to pre-COVID, back to the first Trump administration. Before we had those tariffs on China, those sales would come in hot and heavy between the end of June and maybe the third or fourth week in August, and then it would level out. It wouldn't fall off, but it would level out. So those sales coming in now would be anywhere from 1 million to 1.5 million tons per week, and it's at least for the total sales. So we're kind of a little bit on the slow side for this week, but since we are back to knowing that we've got Chinese demand and the fact they are in buying, there's nothing to really get too excited about as far as pace goes. We started out slow. We've increased our pace over the last 5 or 6 weeks here, so we are caught up and slightly ahead of where we need to be to hit that goal. So again, just 1 week of disappointing sales, and even that disappointment is still in the range of where it needs to be.
All right, Greg, lots of great information today. For anybody who would like to get in touch for more marketing information from Allendale, how can they do that?
Give us a call, 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, Dustin, a week from now, we will be at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, and we will be, of course, located just outside the cattle barn. So invite everyone to stop by and say hello. And for our intern, Thierry, he is going to be joining us as well, of course. And Thierry had the chance to visit some county fairs this summer, and now will be, of course, at the Iowa State Fair with us this year. And Thierry was talking a little bit about he's been to the Iowa State Fair several times, but not so much necessarily focused on the agriculture side of things as much as just enjoying the fair in general. So he's excited for some of those big shows that we will be involved in here next week.
Yeah, that is true. And, that's part of the whole thing of what we try to do while we're there is, the people that haven't experienced it from the agriculture side and the people that, maybe don't experience agriculture on a day-to-day basis altogether, try to help them with that education and help them with that experience. And of course, as we said earlier, talking to the farmers and finding out what's going on in their neck of the woods. Well, we are about a week away from the Heart of the County Fair Award presentations, except not about, we are actually a week away. So looking forward to that as well. Thanks to Riley, thanks to Mark, and thanks to Thierry, thanks to you. We'll see you next week on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.